Hi, my name's gwEm and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So this video is about my favourite drum machine, the Roland 707. So the story begins last year when I got a Roland TR-707 and I happened to be googling around online and I saw that there was an upgrade kit for it that allowed you to swap out the EEPROM inside and get a bunch of new drum kits. So there was a LinnDrum, an LM-1 and a DMX kit. And so I bought this upgrade. It was made by a guy called Harry Axten, who's another Brit. I installed the kit and I was pretty happy with it. So I started following him on Instagram. And I noticed that he was working on a 707 upgrade. So I was pretty interested by this, but I was a bit nervous because although I didn't really care about drilling holes in the 505's case, I didn't really want to, damage the 707 in the same way because, it's a bit more dear to me. Anyway, I was delighted when he announced that the 707 kit had an extra 7 drum kits, not an extra 3 drum kits. And furthermore, there would be no drilling holes in the case either, and the modification is pretty much reversible. So I ordered within hours of them being made available. Harry shipped the kit the next day, and a couple of days later it arrived. Actually, it arrived this morning. So this evening, I am going to install the kit and test it and give my full review. I'm really excited about this and hopefully it'll pay off. So here we are with my precious Roland TR-707 and I'm about to start the Harry Axten ROM expansion. Step 1 is remove all batteries from their compartment. Let's do that. It was a nice and easy first step. Now it says remove the tempo control and all of the slider caps, putting there somewhere safe. And remove the 7 screws on the underside of the case. Okay, let's do that then. Now it says with the machine facing down on a soft surface, lift off the bottom cover. Okay, let's get something soft. Now it says desolder the wires going to the battery compartment. Now it also says to note which way they go, but in my unit, the red, the positive, has already been marked. I don't know if it comes like that as factory, or if someone over the years has worked on this and added that label, but either way, that's very helpful. Carefully disconnect the flex ribbon cable going from the main board off to the cartridge connector. I have actually done that before. So what you do is you slide the plastic connector to the right, and then you can just ease out the flex connector like that. It's quite easy. Temporarily remove the cartridge connector for better access to the main board. Okay. I do actually use the cartridge connector quite a bit because I have now made a memory cartridge for the 707 and you can see a video that I've done about that. Brilliant, what's next? Remove the screws that secure the main PCB into the top case. So those are 2 screws either side of the MIDI sockets on the back panel. 2 screws on the opposite corner of the circuit board assembly, top right and bottom left. And 1 holding the ground wire. Now that's interesting because that already did have a ground wire. So, this is what he must be talking about. I don't know if you can see it, but where that screwdriver is, there's another ground wire. So let's remove that. Lift the PCB assembly outside the case while disconnecting the 2 cables that join it to the panel board. They're a little tough, but they came out with a waggle. With the main board assembly out the case, locate IC 34 and 35. Yes, that was easy to locate. IC 34 and 35 are here. Carefully desolder and remove them. So because I follow Harry on Instagram, I was actually very aware that this kit was coming out, and I anticipated the need for a desoldering these components, and I got myself a desoldering pump. And the reason I did that is that I don't want to damage my 707 because it is one of my favourite bits of gear. Just noticed that a few of these screws in my unit are loose. Might be worth checking them in yours to see as well. Let's get that desoldering pump. So this is just a soldering pump I got off Amazon. It's called a Katsu, and have tried it a little, and it works well. Let's switch it on. So I found 370 degrees is a pretty good temperature. Right, this is the bit I'm most worried about. As I said, the IC35 is here and IC34 is here. So let's give it a go. Alright, so theoretically that is desoldered. I don't know how easily it will actually come out. Fairly easily by the look of it. Wow, thank fuck for that. Pardon my French. There we go, that's the first IC, that's IC34. Was definitely well worth buying the desoldering pump because it's a hell of a lot easier. I did his 505 mod just with a hand pump, and that was problematic. But this pump is paying for itself. Let's do the other one. Yes, straight out. Put that safe as well. Carefully solder the included chip socket in place of IC35. Okay. Good, that's the whole thing soldered. We're nearly at the halfway stage. Plug the expansion board into IC35, ensuring the pins are lined up correctly. Well, that should be easy. So there is, I will show you that because that's how it looks at this stage. So those two ICs have been removed and this one has been replaced by this socket. And I'm now going to plug on the board. And here is the board itself, very neatly designed, Harry. Right, that's gone in well. A couple of points to note here. I did need to move this ribbon cable. And there is a capacitor directly under here that I needed to push down a little flat, but there was plenty of lead on it, so that was quite easy. Now let's have a look at the next step. On the panel board, connect the through hole via directly above D313. D313 is here. Ah yes, I see what he means. There's the wire. I'll show you. Right. There is D313. And the wire refers to this little hole which is above it. So in order to solder that, I'm going to need to scrape off a little bit of the kind of green PCB covering here. I even says that in his instructions. Okay, that's nicely cleaned. I'll just show you that. So there is the wire that he wants us to clean, and you can see I've stripped off the green PCB covering. Apply a blob of solder. Okay, that'll be easy. It's definitely a blob. Right. Solder the wires from the ribbon cable to the locations on the panel board. So you do need to separate all the ends of this ribbon cable. Now note the red one. The one the opposite side of the red one, you need to cut a bit longer. The rest I will just trim very slightly. So my ribbon cable is looking like that at the moment. I've just trimmed the ends a little bit, and the last one on the left I've left a bit longer. So now I'm going to strip the ends of these wires and just tin them. You can see all of those wires are neatly tinned now. So I'm going to solder these onto this connector and that via according to Harry's instructions. Right, so 8 wires are soldered from the ribbon cable onto this connector. starting from the right hand side with the red. Now I'm going to solder this one to that wire here. Eight wires there, one wire there. So now the suggestion is to secure this with insulating tape. Right, so I've plugged these two ribbon cables in. Now I'm going to screw in this earth connection. Okay, good. Replace the screws that you removed in step 5 and the ground wires. Alright then. I'm doing the MIDI screws first, they're the black ones. Don't forget the ground wire on that one. And obviously I've put the ground wire that goes from the top to the bottom PCB board in as well. And this is the wire with the mod. Route and fold the new ribbon cable to the expansion board and plug it into the header. It is keyed and can only be inserted one way wrapped. Replace the cartridge connector and reconnect the flat ribbon. Okay. So I'm inserting the flat ribbon into this white connector. Push it in all the way and then lock it in place by moving the white back to the left. And that's locked in. Resolder the wires to the battery compartment. Okay, very good. Let's put in those 7 screws on the back then. I can nearly smell the beats from this 707. Do the tempo and armband slide caps. Don't forget one of these slider caps is a different colour than master volume. There we are. It's done, back together. It took 1 hour and 2 minutes. I think you could probably do it a bit quicker if you were commentating it. So yeah, an hour for the install. Let's take this baby into the studio and try it out. So here we are in the studio. We've got the TR-707 back in place. This is one of my favourite bits of kit. I can't tell you how excited I am to, give this Harry Axten ROM expansion a go. Now, before I demonstrate the kit, one thing that you guys can be aware of is if you press the track button and the 1 button, when you switch it on, it will do a factory reset. So that's good to know, because when you take the batteries out of the 707 in order to perform the mod, all the patterns and stuff will be screwed up. But anyway, let's give these sounds a go. So how it works is that there is 8 kits, and in order to select between them you hold down buttons 1 through to 8 when you switch it on. So the first one I know is the 707 default sounds. We already know that these sound amazing. Oh, exquisite. I love the 707 so much. Now, the next one along is the 727. Now, the 727 is the Latin brother of the 707, and it contains all kind of Latin percussion, and it was intended like as an auxiliary kind of instrument to the 707. A lot of people like to use the 727 sounds with the 909. So there's a lot of famous ones here. Now the last 2 sounds are on 2 different ROM chips inside the 707 because the sounds are quite long. They couldn't fit on the 2 chips that Harry's kit replaces, so you always have the 707 crash and ride. I understand from reading his online posts that that will change, and he will offer a kit which will change these 2 sounds as well. I'm not sure how much I care about that, to be honest with you, but let's first of all see the other sounds and how those 707 sounds might fit in. The third one is the 808. So this is the first of the kind of non-native sounds for this this hardware. There's a bit of aliasing on those 808 kicks. Not too much though. I would have expected more. When you have 8-bit samples, and I know this very well from my work on the Atari, when you use analog drums and you sample them, it's very hard to avoid aliasing. I think those sound good. The very authentic sounding snares sound quite nice as well. The toms. My favourite sound on the 808. Nice. Right, that isn't a tambourine. That is a clave, which is the opposing sound to the rim shot on the 808. Now, another interesting thing about the 707 is that the closed hi-hat is just a chopped version of the open hi-hat, and you really hear that. But that's perfectly fine. Yeah, those crash and ride sounds are quite a lot louder on that compared to the rest of the 808 kit. They have the character that fits. I think that's a really nice sounding 8-bit 808 kit actually. Let's do the 909. Ha, that's very classic, isn't it? That's a really good sounding 909 kick. It's more of a thunk, but it's nice that it's very different to the first bass drum, because on the 707 the 2 bass drums and the 2 snare drums sound very close. So that's a good alternative. It might be useful for doing a breakbeat or something. I would have preferred slightly more punchy snares. But they're fine. Really good sounding toms, great samples. That rum shot sounds fine. Oh. Now, the 909 doesn't have a cowbell, so I see they've decided to use the 707 cowbell. Oh man, why? That's really disappointing. I wish that they'd put the 808 cowbell there. I kind of see why the 909 is closer in heritage to the 707. Oh, that's such a disappointment. Okay, well that's the only real negative point so far. Yeah, kind of tambourine, fine. The 909 doesn't have a tambourine sound either, and they've used the 707 tambourine, but yeah, fine. I mean, it fits brilliantly with those. They've got the very recognisable hi-hat sounds. Again, those crash and ride, they seem to work well with the 909. So let's go to the next bank. So this is the LinnDrum bank. It's nice. Yeah, that's a nice sounding LinnDrum bank. Actually, I have the 505 kit, which has the LinnDrum sounds in it. But I can tell, even though the sample data is probably the same as they used in the 505 kit, sounds a lot better from the 707. It's not really a surprise. The 707 was designed as a high-end drum machine, and the 505 was designed as a cheap drum machine, so I guess they used nicer D to A converters. Let's try the next kit. It's the LM-1. Usable samples. Again, it sounds better than the 505 kit, and I can tell that even without having the 505 set up right next to it. Actually, I might get the 505 in a second and patch it in, and we'll do an A/B of some of these kits. This is the Oberheim DMX kit. Nice. I love those electric kick and snare sounds. Very typical DMX toms. Shaker there. Yep. Great. That's a nice tambourine sound. The 707 crash and ride don't work quite so well with the DMX kit. Although I have to say they worked pretty well with all the other kits until now. So Bank 8 is a combination of favourite 707 and 727 sounds, and I anticipate using this kit quite a lot, because some of the sounds in the 707 kit are redundant, so the snare drum and the bass drum sound almost the same. So let's see what they've loaded in this combined 707-727 kit. Okay, nice. They've chosen the good 707 bass drum. Nice bongos. Okay, the normal 707 toms. A go-go. That's good. I mean, you have to sacrifice some things. I don't much care for the 707 cowbell, so the go-go is a great substitute. I use rim shot all the time, but you know, I'm willing to accept that loss. A shaker is a good substitute for the tambourine. I sometimes do use the tambourine, but I think the shaker's a bit more versatile. And we've got the hi-hats and the crashing the ride. That's a really good kit, that 707 plus 727. So what I'm going to do actually is to get the 505 mod and patch that in, because I do want to compare the sounds of the LinnDrum, LM-1 and DMX kits. Okay, so I've got the TR-505 set up, which is a later Roland drum machine than the 707, and it was intended as a budget unit. And one of the cool things about this is it actually runs on batteries. But let's do a sound comparison. So I've got the DMX kit loaded on both. Let's start with the bass drum. You can clearly hear there's more aliasing on the kick drum. I guess the 707 has a nice anti-aliasing filter. The snare sounds a bit punchier on the 505. There's not a whole lot in it. Obviously we have the electric kick and snare drum sounds on the 707 that weren't on the 505 kit. Let's have the toms. Oh, they sound completely different. Not sure what's going on there. Maybe tuning. What's the next one? Rim shot. Slightly punchier I feel on the 707. Cowbell is the shaker. I wonder what he's mapped that to. High cowbell. Again, they sound almost the same. I think the 707 has more punch. Oh, the legendary hand clap. Yeah, 707 wins again. Tambourine, I bet that's the timbale. Yeah. Closed hi-hat. Now these will sound different because, as I said earlier, the closed hi-hats are derived from the open hi-hat on the 707. They sound a bit different. I think I prefer the 707 again. So let's switch to the LM-1. Now to do that on the 707 I have to power cycle it, but that's not a problem because I appreciate that the case hasn't been drilled. Let's have a listen to the bass drum. Yeah, the kick is definitely filtered a lot more on the 707. I'm not sure which I prefer. They're clearly the same sounds, but okay. Let's go for the snare. Again, I think the snare is a bit better on the 505. I guess that's due to the but the kick drum's better, and obviously we've got two alternatives. Let's go for the toms. Yeah, the tuning is definitely different. those rim shots sound identical. Hand clap now. Sounds better on the 707. Tambourine. It's a sort of a shaker. Okay. Very similar, maybe slightly nicer on the 707. Now for the closed hi-hat. That open hi-hat sounds a whole lot rawer on the 707. I really like it. I should also say that there are, although we have an extra bass and snare drum on the 707, there's a few Latin percussion sounds that I am not triggering on the 505, so you can't really compare them directly. Let's do the LinnDrum, which is number 5. Okay, bass drum. Very different sounds. Oh, that's that filtering. Interestingly, those snare drums sound almost the same. On the other kits, they were quite different. We've got this cool electric snare now. The tuning of the toms is definitely different. The rim shot sounds identical. What's next? Cowbell. Pretty much the same. Hand clap more punchy on the 707. Tambourine. Sort of a shaker sound. I think the 707 sounds better again. Again, you can't do much about the closed hi-hat because it is derived from the open. Tuning's a bit different, but I think they sound both equally as good. So there you go, the 707 sounds a bit better on all of the kits. I mean, there are exceptions in certain sounds, but I think the 707 sounds punchier with the same samples. So to finish off, I've put together a complete beat using the 909 kit, which I was particularly impressed by, except for perhaps the cowbell sound. So let's give it a play. I think that sounds really good. So what do I think about the kit? Well, I think it's brilliant. Actually, I really respect the design of it. It's very non-invasive. I love the way that there was no hole drilling in the case. The design is very elegant. And I think the samples, particularly for the 808 and 909 kits, have been very nicely tuned for the 8-bit digital to analog converters in the 707, and they're some of the best 8-bit sounds I've heard of a 808 and 909. Like I said in the reaction part, it's very difficult to make 8-bit samples of those analog drum machines. It never quite comes off. And the LinnDrum LM-1 and DMX sound a bit better than the 505 kit, although as I explained, there's pros and cons about that. So overall, I think it's a great design. I'm very impressed, and I'd like to send my congratulations to Mr. Harry Axten if he's watching this video. The only downside is that cowbell sample on the 909 kit. Why did they choose the 707 one and not the 808 one? But that's such a small negative point, I'm literally couldn't be more delighted with all the other aspects of this kit. And if you've got a 707, I think at the price that it is, you should definitely check one out. I will say that when you install the kit, it's definitely a good idea to use a proper desoldering station. You'll save yourself a lot of grief, and it's a worthwhile investment in not butchering your 707. So that's the end of my review and installation guide, if you like. I hope that was interesting for you. I'm in a very good mood now because it has enhanced my already favourite bit of kit. Consider subscribing to my channel. That would be brilliant. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers. I don't really know why. It's just a target I've set myself. I'm not intending to monetize my channel or anything. And even if you don't subscribe, if you've got this far, hit that like button. And I'll see you in another video soon. Thanks a lot and take care.